The Key was a 1958 war drama with romance and a little bit of a supernatural element too. Uh, I guess you could call it that. It starred William Holden and Sophia Lauren. It came out in '58. It's a pretty good film. I'm going to try to give it a summary and give it some thoughts here. So the plot is basically that William Holden's character, he is this Canadian naval captain. He joins the Royal Fleet in England as part of this Royal Navy tugboat fleet, and they go out and they rescue battle-damaged British naval ships that have been injured in World War II by the Germans. So his job is basically commands a crew, and they bring these injured vessels back. So, and he's, does a great job as this commander. And early in the film, there's a scene where he is reunited with an old friend, and that's where things kind of get a little interesting. I thought this was going to be a straight up, war movie, drama, romance, but there's a little bit of a weird side to it, almost like a Twilight Zone. I'll kind of get into that in a minute. So anyhow, he meets this old friend. It was the actor Trevor Howard. And, one of the things I love about watching these old films is, I know the big names, like, Sophia Lauren, obviously, William Holden, I've seen him in a bunch of films. But like this Trevor Howard character, I'm like, wow, where have I seen him? He looks so familiar. Well, he's an old British actor. He's been in tons of things. I'll go to the Internet Movie Database and look him up, of course. But who he was is he was on the council with Jor-El from the 1978 Superman. He was the be reasonable, Jor-El. It was that guy. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's so cool. So this came out in 1958. So 20 years earlier, I guess. But he still looks old, looks and sounds old in this film. So he and William Holden's character, they meet up together, share some drinks and some laughs. And then we get into kind of this strange thing about this film, which is the whole idea of the key. So he lives at this place that a previous naval captain had lived at, and he had died and given the key to this Trevor Howard character. And also living there is Sophia Lauren, and she is sort of an Italian Swedish expatriate or something who's living there and who has, I guess, had a romantic relationship with the guy before and now with Trevor Howard. And this is where it gets a little strange. So Trevor gives William Holden the key to this house in case anything happens to him. He wants him to be able to come and stay there. Well, we all know when things like that happen in a film, we know bad things are bound to happen. I mean, whenever a character in the film says the words, "Nothing will happen to me," to Sophia Loren, well, something's going to happen to him. And sure enough, this Trevor Howard character dies, and William Holden, he's got the key to this flat where he was living, where Sophia Loren lives. And at first he's like totally reluctant. He's like, no, I'm not going to live there, whatever, I'll stay somewhere else. But eventually he kind of caves in, and he goes and he starts staying there at the place. He gets to know Sophia Loren, and as you would expect, there is a romance that occurs. The two fall in love. There's a nice little romance that goes on there. And as would happen, as you would expect, there comes a time when he has to go off on a mission that most certainly will lead to his death. Now, Sophia Loren, whenever these guys would go off to these missions, if she sensed that they were going to die, she would get this premonition that something creepy would happen. Not only would she get the premonition, but you would hear the eerie violins, the string section playing these eerie notes. I'm trying to remember who did the music. I think it was Dmitri Tiomkin. I could be totally wrong about that. Whoever did the music did a great job, because they would play these eerie strings whenever Sophia Loren would think, oh, something's going to happen. She had the feeling that the Trevor Howard guy was going to die. Sure enough, he died. And then she gets the same premonition that William Holden is going to die. So William Holden thinks about it, and then he goes off, and he's going to get on the boat. He gets his crew ready. And this is near the end of the film. I'm not going to give any more spoilers. You're going to have to see, did Sophia Loren's powers of premonition come to pass? does William Holden survive? Well, you got to watch the movie to see. All I will say is this. If I was in William Holden's situation, and I'm married to Sophia Lauren, and she's having premonitions of my death, and she has accurately predicted characters are going to die previously, and they all died, I would think, maybe this is a good day to call in sick. So you'll have to see what happens with this. That's really all my thoughts I had on this. I'm going to mention there was a cameo, sort of, or just a very minor role by Oscar Homolka. I'm probably saying his name wrong. And I thought that was really cool because he plays this very jovial captain who wants William Holden to come sing with his church for a Christmas concert, asks him if he's a baritone or something. And I thought that was neat because I saw him, and I'm like, wait, what have I seen him in? And I had to look it up. He was in the Sabotage film by Alfred Hitchcock, but he played that nasty guy with the crazy eyebrows who was part of the terrorist organization. Well, he's a completely different character in this film, so that was neat to see. Somebody else, let me think, it was, Malcolm Arnold, I think, did the music. I'm sorry, I may have said Dmitri Tiomkin. I'm thinking of a different film. One other character was the naval commander was Bernard Lee. And I saw him and I thought, where have I seen him from? Had to look it up. He was the original M from the earlier James Bond movies. So how cool. But I mean, this was 1958, so we're kind of getting way back before most of the James Bond films got started. So he was in that as well. It was a good film. It's a lot of the high sea adventure. It was very convincing. Whenever William Holden was out on the boat, there was obviously a couple scenes you knew they probably filmed in a stage, but there was some good convincing. For 1958, there were some good, believable scenes of him out in the boat doing these rescue missions. And the music, too, was like really upbeat during some of the rescue scenes. I thought it fit the film really well. And the romance was, I thought, very nicely done. It's a sweet relationship William Holden and Sophia Loren's character have. And like I said, the whole thing with the premonitions, it's a little bit of a Twilight Zone vibe to it. And you got to watch it and see, hey, does that last premonition come to pass or not? So that's The Key, and it's worth checking out. Testing out the camera, yeah.